Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatashatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatashatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatashatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatashatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Gokshadasa Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Padashaganath Shar Goswami Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kun Shyama Kun ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kartik Vrat ki jai. Kartik Vrat Samapta Divas ki jai. Vrat Palankari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri, what is it? Shri Bhagoswami ki jai. Shri Kashishwar Pandit ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Shri Hemanta Rasa Yatra ki jai. Shri Niyam Seva ki jai. Urja Vrat ki jai. Urjeshwari Shri Vishabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radha Thakurani ki jai. Raseshwari Shri Vishabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radha Thakurani ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Bhakta Pravar Shri Prahlāda Maharaj ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinasankari Shri Nṛsiṁha-Bhagavan ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapara Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangsha Om Jnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Nārāyaniti Namine Shri Krishna Lila Kathane Sudaksham Audarya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam Varang Varanyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tam Shirasa Namami Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Shri Keshava Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Vamaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Acharya Singharupine Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Iti Namine Atimartya Charitraya Swashritanang Chapaline Jiva Dukhe Sadartaya Shri Nama Prema Daine Nama Om विष्णुपदाय कृपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती इति नामिने श्रीवार्षभानवी देवी दायिताय कृपाब्धये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञानदायिने प्रभवे नमः माधवयोजुल प्रेमाढ्या श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगा विरूपाक्ष सिद्धांत धंत्रहारिणे Come inside. नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बर संभोदे पदाम्बुजायते नमः नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगभरायते गौराविर्भावभूमिस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जनप्रिया वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितां येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नित्यानन्दनमस्तुभ्यां प्रेमानन्दप्रदायिने कलोकल्मषनाशाय जानवपताये नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतं सुरतो पंगोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत् सर्वस्वपदाम्भुजो राधा मदनमोहनो देव्याद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमदा श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थो श्रीमद्राधाशीलगोविन्ददेवो पृष्ठालिभिः सेवमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन्रासरसारम्भिं शिवाटतटस्थितः कर्षन्वेणुस्वनैर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथ श्रीस्तुना अङ्गश्यामलिमच्छटाभिरभितो मन्दीकृतेन्दीवरं जाड्यां जागुरुरोचिषां विदधतां पट्टाम्बरस्य श्रिया वृन्दारण्यविलासिनां हृदि लसत् दामाभिरामोदरं राधास्कन्धनिवेशितो ज्वलभुजां ध्यायेम दामोदरम् वृन्दाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्वताय नमो नमः भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर सरी गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So if you want something for your feet, you can take that mat, like roll it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. Davanala sama sangsara dahani Dagda jiva kula yudhara karane Karuna varida Kripavali Bandi Kuna Sindhu Gurur Chakamala Nritya Gita Vadya Shri Hari Kirtane Rahe Nama Gana Mahamata Mane Romanchakam Pashu Hoya Gora Preme Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Sadarata Jini Vigraha Sevane Shingaradi Armandira Marjane Korena Nijukta Yanugata Jane Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Charvachushaleya Peyara Samoy Prasadana Krishna Rati Swaduhoy Bhakta Yashvadane Nijatriptaroy Vandishe Gurarana Kamala Shri Radha-Madhava Namarupa Ananta Madhurya Lila Ashvadane Lupta Chitta Jini Ana Pratikshane Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Braja Yuva Dvanda Rati Sambardhane Yukti Kore Saki Gane Vrindavane Ati Dakshata He Priyatama Gane Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Shri Radha Madhava Sarva Shastre Gai Shri Harir Sarupa Bhakta Gana Bhave She Anurupa Kintu Jini Prabhu Priyatama Rupa Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Jahara Prasade Krishna Kripa Pai Jara Prasade Anya Gati Nai Trisandhya Kirti Rastava Dhyane Bhai Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Guru Deva Shtakayati Jatna Kori Brahma Muhurte Pore Ucha Kori Vrindavana Nath Shakshat Shri Hari Seva Pai Shevastu Siddhi Kale Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Krishna hoite Chaturmukha Hoy Krishna Sevanuka Brahma hoite Narade Ramati Narada hoite Vyasa Madhva kohi Vyasa Dasa Purna Pragya Parmana Bhagati Nrihari Madhava Vamshe Akshobhya Paramahamsa Shishya Boli Angikara Kore Akshobhyera Shishya Jaya Tirthame Parichaya Taradase Jnana Sindhu Tare Taha hoite Daya Nidhi Taradasa Vidya Nidhi Rajendra hoilo Taha hoite Tahara Kinkara Jaya Dharma Name Parichaya Parampara Jano Bhalo Mate Jaya Dharma Dasya Khyati Shri Purushottama Jati Ta hoite te pramanya tirtha suri vyasa tirtha tardasa lakshmi pativyadasa taha hoite madhavendra puri madhavendra puri vara shishya vara shishvara nityananda shiya dekta vibhu ishvara puri ke danya korilen shri chaitanya jagar guru gaura mahaprabhu mahaprabhu shri chaitanya radha krishna nahe anya rupanuga jane rajivana Shambara Priyankara Shri Sarupa Damodara Shri Gosami Rupa Sanatana Rupa Priya Mahajan Jiva Raghunatha Tar Priya Kavi Krishna Dasa Krishna Dasa Priya Vara Naratama Seva Para Jar Para Vishnatha Yasha Mata Bhakta Sata Baladeva Jagannatha Tar Priya Shri Bhakti Vinora Mahabhagavata Vara Shri Gora Kishora Vara Hari Bhajane Te Jara Mora Shri Varshabhana Vivara Sada Seva Seva Vara Tahara Daita Dasanama Prabhu Para Antaranga Shri Sarupa Rupanuga Shri Keshava Bhakti Pragyana Gaudiya Vedanta Veta Maya Varata Mohanta Gauravani Prachara Chardhama Pracharila Gauravani Bhakti Vedanta Swami Puraila Prabhupader Kama Keshava Priya Mahajan Vamana Narayan Gauravani Tade Pranadhana Esa Bahajan Gaurangir Nijajan Tadera Uchishte Morakama Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Parampara Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Parampara Guru Parampara Vrindavana Vasi Jata Vaishnavera Gana Prathame Vandana Kori Sabhara Charana Nilachala Vasi Jata Mahaprabhur Gana Bhumite Podiya Vandam Sabhara Charana Navadipa Vasi Jata Mahaprabhur Bhakta Sabhara Charana Vandam Hoyayanurakta Mahaprabhur Bhakta Jata Kora Deshe Sthiti Sabhara Charana Vandam Koriya Pranati Je Deshe Boise Gaurangera Gana Urdhva Bahu Kori Vandam Sabhara Charana Hoya Chena Hoi Pena Prabhur Jata Dasa Sabhara Charana Dante Kori Ghasa Brahmanda Tarite Shakti Dhare Jane Jane Devera Purane Muna Gaye Jeva Shune Mahaprabhur Gana Sava Patita Pavana Tailo Bhimoi Papi Loino Sharana Vandana Korite Mui Koto Shakti Dhari Tamo Buddhi Doshe Mui Tamba Matra Kori Tathapi Mukera Bhagya Manera Ulasa Dosha Kshami Mohatame Korone Jadasa Sarva Vansha Siddhi Ho jamabandha chute, jagate dulabha hoya, prem dhana lute, manera vasana purna, achirate hoya, devaki nandana dasa, elo bekoya jaya, Vaishnav Thakur Jaya, Vaishnav Thakur Jaya, Vaishnav Thakur Jaya, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur Jaya, Vaishnav Thakur. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori, Saparshada Shriya Dhama Sahaya Vatari, Atanta Dulabha Prema Koribare dana, Shikaya sharanati, Bhakatera prana, Danyayatmani vedana, Goptrite varana, Avasharakshive Krishna, Vishvasa palana, Bhakti-anukula matra Karyara Shrikara, Bhakti pratikula bhava Vajanangikara, Sharanga sharanagati Hoibe jahara, Tahara prarthana shune Shri Nanda Kumara, Rupa Sanatana Pare, Dante Trikori, Bhakati Vinoda Pare, Dohu Pada Dhori, Kandiya Kandiya Bole, Amitaya Dhama, Shikhaye sharanagati, Guru he utama, Jaya Sapashara, Jaya Gora Hari, Sapashara, Jaya Gora Hari, Jaya Sapashara, Jaya Gora Hari, Sapashara, Jaya Gora Hari. Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Mana Manasa Madhukaramaya, Nijapada Pankaja Makarande, Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Yadapi samadhishu vidhirapi pashati natavanaka kramariche idami chamine shamnatavachuta tarapi kriparguta veche Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Bhakti Rudan Jati Adapi Madhava Natvai Mamatila Matri Parameshwarata Tarapita Vadhi Durghata Ghatanavi Tatri Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Ayamavilolataya Sanatana Kalitadbhuta Rasabhara Nivasatu netami amritane dini vindana madhuri masaram Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhagavantam Vande, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaite, Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaite, Damodara Radhe Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe, Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaite, Vrishabhanudade Navashashi Lekhe Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe, Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaite, Karunam Guru Mai Karuna Bhari Te Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite, Radhe Karunam Guru Mai Karuna Bhari Te Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite, Shri Rupa Sanatana Varnita Charite, Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaite, Sucham Namami Nandanandanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Sucharu Vaktramandalam, Suparnaratna Kundalam, Suchachitanga Chandanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Sudirga Netra Pankajam, Shikeshikanda Murdhajam, Ananga Koti Mohanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Sunasikagram Swachandra Danta Panktikam, Navam Budanga Chikanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Karena Venuranjitam, Kate Karendra Ganjitam, Dukula Pita Shobhanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Tribanga Deha Sundaram, Nakadyuti Sudakaram, Amulya Ratna Bhushanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Sugandhayanga Saurabhamuro Virajikostubam, Spruvachrivatsalancanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Vrindavana Sunagaram, Vilasano Gavasasam, Surendra Garvamochanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Prajangana Sunayakam, Sukha Pradayakam, Jaganmana Pralobanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Shrinandanandanam, Paterya Shadayanvita, Tared Bhavabhim Dustaram, Labetaram Kriyogmakam, Namami Nandanandanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Namami Nandanandanam, Munindra Vrindavandite, Triloka Shoka Harini, Prasanna Vatra Pankaje, Nikunja Bhuvilasini, Rajendra Bhanu दौलते कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अशोकवृक्षवल्लरी वितानमण्डपस्थिते प्रभालबालपल्लव प्रभारङ्घ्रिकोमले वराभय स्फुरत्करे प्रभूतसम्पदालये कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनङ्गरङ्गमङ्गल प्रसङ्गभङ्गुरभ्रुवं सविभ्रमं ससम्भ्रमं त्रिकान्तबाणपतन निरन्तरं वशीकृत प्रतीतिनन्दनन्दने कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् तडेत् सुवर्णचम्पक प्रदीप्तगौरविग्रहे अप्रभापरास्तकोटिशारदेन्दुमण्डले विचित्रचित्रसञ्चरचकोर शावलोचने कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मदोन्नताद्यौवने प्रमोरमानमण्डिते प्रियानुरागरञ्जिते कलाविलासपण्डिते अनन्यधान्य कुञ्जराजकामकेलिकोविदे कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अशेषहावभावधीर हिरहारभूषिते प्रभूतशातकुम्भकुम्भ कुम्भिकुम्भसुस्तनि प्रशस्तमन्दहास्य चूर्णपूर्णसौख्यसागरे कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मृणालवल्लरी तरङ्गरङ्गदोलते लताग्रलास्य लोलनीललोचनावलोकने ललालुलन् मिलननोग्यमोग्धमोहनाश्रिते कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् सुवर्णमालिकाञ्चित त्रिरेककम्बुकाण्ठगे त्रिसूत्रमङ्गली गुण त्रिरत्नदीप्तिदेदिति सलोलनीलकुन्तलप्रसूनगुच्छगुम्फिते कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् नितम्बबिम्बलम्बमान पुष्पमेखलागुणे प्रशस्तरत्नकिङ्किणी कलापमध्यमञ्जुले करेन्दुशुण्डदाण्डिकावरोहसौभगौरुके कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनेकमन्त्रनारमञ्जु नुपुरारवस्कलत् समाजराजहंसवंशनेत्वनाति गौरवे विलोलहेमवल्लरी विडम्बिचारुचङ्क्रमे कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनन्तकोटिविष्णुलोक नम्रपर्मजार्चिते हेमाद्रिजाकुलोमजा विरिञ्च जावरप्रदे अपारसे दिवे दिदिग्ध सत्पदाङ्गुलीनखे कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मखे मखेश्वरी क्रियेश्वरी सरेश्वरी सुरेश्वरी त्रिवेरभारतीश्वरी प्रमाणशासनेश्वरी रामेश्वरी क्षमेश्वरी प्रमोरकाननेश्वरी व्रजेश्वरी व्रजाधिपे शिराधिके नमस्तुते इति ममार्भुतं स्तवमिषाम्य भानुनन्दिनी करोतु सन्ततं जनम् कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् Bhavetadaiva sanchita trirupa karma nashana Bhavettada Brajendra sunu mandala praveshana Kada karishasi hama kripa kataksha bhajana Namameshwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasatpundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashodhapiyo Lokha Ladhavamanam Paramrishtamatan Tatatruta Gopya Namameshwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasatkundalam Gokule Bhajaman Rudantamuhunetra Yugmamrijanta Parambhojayugmena Satanka Netra Mushvasa Kampa Trivikanka Kanta Stita Graivadamo Namameshwaram Sachidananda Rupam Lasatkundalam Gokule Brajamanam Iti Drikaswalilagirananda Kule Swaghoshamima jantam Akhya payantam Tadiyeshitargeshu bhaktirjitatvam Puna prematastam Shatavriti vande varam deva moksham Namokshava deva Nachanyam vrineha Varishat apiha Idante vapurnata Gopala bala Sadame manasyavi Rastam ke manay Namameshwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasatkundalam Gokule Brajamanam Idam te mukham bhujamagaptalilar Pritam kuntalashnikdaraktaisha gopya Mohushchumbitam bimba raktadharani Manasa virastam alam nakshalabha Namadeva damodarananta Vishnu Prasita prabhudu kajalabhimagnam Nipadishti vrishtyati dinam patano Grihanishamamagyam medakshi dishai Namamesharam Sachidanandarupam Rasakundalam Gokule Brajaman Kuberatmajo Gadamurtai Vayarkat Taya mochito bhakti bhajo krito cha Tatha prema bhakting Swakame prayacha Namokshe graho mesti damodarena Namaste sudamne spuradipti damne Tadyataraya tadish vishwasadamne Namuradhikaya tadya priyaya Namananta Leelaya Devaya Tuvyam Nama Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Nama Radhikaya Tvadiya Nama Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namananta Leelaya Devaya Tuvyam Namananta Leelaya Devaya Tuvyam Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Jai Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jai Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Hari Bol Nitai Gol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai Srila Guru Ki Jai Srila Param Guru Dev Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Saparshad Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Harinam Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Shri, sorry guys, Shri Kartik Vrat Ki Jai, Kartik Vrat Samapti Vas Ki Jai, Shri Vrat Palankari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Urjeshwari Raseshwari Shri Vishabhanu Nandini, Shrimati Radha Thakurani Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Shri Hemanti Ki Rasa Yatra Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Shri Nṛsiṁha-Bhagavan Ki Jai, Bhakta Prahlāda Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Let's see. Dandava pranam Hari Bol. All right, so today is the appearance of Nṛsiṁha-Deva. We're going to read about Nṛsiṁha-Deva's appearance now. Let me share my screen again. Hari Bol. And Dandavat pranams, everybody. Gargaraji, Raseshwari Mataji, Rukmini Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Rup Manjari Didi, Madhavi Didi, Ganga Didi, Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hari Bol. So yeah, today is the big day. Nṛsiṁha-Deva finally appears in our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading, I mean. I was thinking also, actually, it would have been cool to read about him appearing yesterday, because it's Chaturdashi. That's when Nṛsiṁha-Deva appeared, isn't it? On Chaturdashi. But wait, is it the Chaturdashi before Purnima or before Amavasya? I forgot. Anyways, doesn't matter. All right. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha Yang Pravrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedu Stang Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Shangsva Katha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Redantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nitang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Kshiptashtakamaddhitarangamadhe Kripa Maitam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ito Nṛsiṁha Parato Nṛsiṁha, Yato Yamitato Nṛsiṁha, Bahir Nṛsiṁha Hridaye Nṛsiṁha, Nṛsiṁham Adim Sharanam Prapade. We should sing Nṛsiṁha prayers after we finish today. All right, so let's open this up. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Okay. All right, so yesterday, what night from was it? From 37, I think. Okay, let's start from here. So, Prahlāda Maharaj, to all his friends, all his classmates, he said, Bhakti is the best of all paths recommended for disentanglement from matter. It is directly spoken by the Supreme Lord, and it is the easiest way of developing love for God. So then he goes through the activities of bhakti. In bhakti, we serve a bona fide guru with faith and devotion. One offers all one's possessions to Guru or Krishna. One associates with saintly persons and devotees, and worships the Supreme Lord. Glories of the Lord with faith, glorifies the Lord's divine qualities and activities, always meditates on the Lord's lotus feet, worship the Lord's form, deity form, according to the injunctions of the Shastra and Guru, and remembers the Lord as the Paramatma situated in the core of every living entity's heart, and one respects all living entities according to their position or manifestation. By performing the above activities of bhakti, one can attain the following results. Secondary results is that one can cut down the influence of lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and jealousy. And the primary result is that one attains the platform of rati, or loving service to Lord Vasudeva. And now he explains rati, or this stage of bhav, rati. He said, the advanced stages of bhakti. Upon hearing about the incomparable qualities and pastimes of the Lord, the devotee becomes, his hairs stand on end, his voice falters, his eyes shed tears, and he sings, shouts, and dances. As if haunted by a ghost, he laughs and cries. He meditates, contemplates, offers respects to all, breathes heavily, gives up shame, and shouts like a madman, Hare Krishna, O Narayan, O Master of the universe. By constantly thinking of the Lord, the devotee is freed from all material bondage. The seeds of his material desires are burnt to ashes. By such bhakti, one achieves the shelter of the Lord and directly contacts him. Direct contact with the Lord by bhakti destroys the cycle of samsara, repeated birth and death, for the embodied souls. Therefore, worship the Lord in your heart. Worshipping the Lord is easy. He is in everyone's heart and is the friend of all jivas. What then is the need for unnecessary endeavor for sense gratification? Now, having emphasized the glory of performing devotion to the Supreme Lord, Prahlāda will now describe the worthlessness of material pursuits that act as obstacles in bhakti. The transient nature of material happiness. Material opulence is temporary. How much pleasure can an oh God, you told me how to say this word before, but I forgot. Ephemeral. I'm going to just say it like that. How much pleasure can ephemeral riches, wife, animals, children, residence, and other luxuries offer to a human being with a lifespan that is perishable in a moment? Even heaven is temporary. By sacrifices, one may be elevated to heavenly planets, but they are also impure and not free from the taint of material existence. So worship the Supreme Lord with great devotion for your own benefit and self-realization. He is free from all inebrieties. A materialist, a karmi, is frustrated in his attempts to attain better enjoyment. Although he thinks of himself highly learned, he inevitably gets opposite results. How then are the materialists happy sometimes? In this world, every materialist desires and acts to achieve happiness and diminish distress. But they achieve only unhappiness by their actions. By giving up desire for enjoyment, they get happiness. There's a note. One is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. As soon as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begins. Because there's some expectation, right? And when you don't get the expectation, then you feel distress. The material body, its possessions and relations. Comfort-seeking body. A living entity desires and acts for comfort of one's body. But the perishable body, which is the property of others, embraces the jiva and leaves him aside. It embraces a jiva and then leaves him aside. Note, the material body is meant to be eaten by dogs, jackals, or moths, and thus turned into useless stool, ashes, or earth. The living entity wastes his time in a futile attempt to gain material possessions for the comfort of one body after another. As the body itself is meant to become stool or earth, there is no meaning to the paraphernalia related to the body, such as wife, children, servants, residents, and so on. Relation with this paraphernalia is finished when the body is finished. For a devotee who experiences an ocean of eternal bliss in worshipping the Lord, bodily relations are most insignificant. The living entity receives different material bodies due to one's previous fruit of activities, karma, and thus suffers. Knowing this, who will be interested in acts that result in miseries? The jiva receives one type of body as per his karma, and by performing actions with that body, he creates another body. Thus, one continues in the cycle of birth and death. Depend on the Supreme Lord with devotion and without material desires. He is the shelter of dharma, artha, and kama. Lord Hari is the Supersoul, the Atma of all Jivas. Everyone is a manifestation of his energy. He is the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Ishwar, and most dear to all. The most auspicious condition of life is to be situated in the service of Lord Mukunda, Bhajan Mukunda Charanam, like me, Prahlāda. This can be done by anyone, including demigods, demons, humans, yakshas, gandharvas, and so on. Without bhakti, every mockery. One cannot please Lord Mukunda by being a Brahman, demigod, sage, or by good conduct, learning, charity, austerity, sacrifice, cleanliness, or vows. He is pleased only by unflinching, unalloyed, sincere devotion to him. Amalaya Bhaktya. That's an important verse. Na danam na tapo neja, na shocham na vratani cha, priyate malaya bhaktya, harir anyar vidambanam. Therefore, take to bhakti to satisfy the Supreme Lord, the super soul of all, in the same favorable way as one takes care of oneself. What's that verse by Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Vishay je priti eve ache amar, she mata priti hok charane tumar. May I have the same love that I have for myself, or for the objects of my sense enjoyment. May I have that same of love for you. If only we could love Krishna as much as we love our enjoyment, we would be perfected. Everyone can perform bhakti. The yakshas, rakshasas, women, shudras, cowherdmen, birds, animals, and sinful living entities can revive their original eternal spiritual existence by accepting the principles of bhakti yoga. The ultimate goal of human life, as explained by all the scriptures, is to render service to the lotus feet of Govinda and to see him everywhere. So he ends with that, to see Govinda everywhere. Render service to the lotus feet of Govinda and see him everywhere. Hiraṇyakaśipu will soon find out the truth in this. So Lord Nṛsiṁha-deva slays the king of demons, chapter 8. So we're going to read the conversation between Prahlāda and Hiraṇyakaśipu. Prahlāda's classmates become fixed up in bhakti yoga. Okay, we're going to read all this. Then 14, that's the big verse. All right, let's go to... Just making sure everything's okay. Looks like it's all right. Lord Nṛsiṁha-deva slays the king of the demons. As described in this chapter, Hiraṇyakaśipu was ready to kill his own son, Prahlāda Maharaj, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in front of the demon as Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the half lion and half man, and killed him. Following the instructions of Prahlāda Maharaj, all the sons of the demons became attached to Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this attachment became pronounced, their teachers, Shanda and Amarka, were very much afraid that the boys would become more and more devoted to the Lord. In a helpless condition, they approached Hiraṇyakaśipu and described in detail the effect of Prahlāda's preaching. After hearing this, Hiraṇyakaśipu decided to kill his own son Prahlāda. Hiraṇyakaśipu was so angry that Prahlāda Maharaj fell down at his feet and said many things just to pacify him, but he was unsuccessful in satisfying his demoniac father. Hiraṇyakaśipu, as a typical demon, began to advertise himself as being greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Prahlāda Maharaj challenged him, saying that Hiraṇyakaśipu was not God, and began to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, declaring that the Lord is all-pervading, that everything is under him, and that no one is equal to or greater than him. Thus he requested his father to be submissive to the omnipotent Supreme Lord. The more Prahlāda Maharaj glorified the Supremacy of Godhead, the more angry and agitated the demon became. Hiraṇyakaśipu asked his Vaishnav son whether his God existed within the columns of the palace, and Prahlāda Maharaj immediately accepted that since the Lord is present everywhere, he was also present within the columns. When Hiraṇyakaśipu heard this philosophy from his young son, he derided the boy's statement as just the talk of a child, and forcefully struck the pillar with his fist. As soon as Hiranyakashipu struck the column, there issued forth a tumultuous sound. At first, Hiranyakashipu, the king of demons, could not see anything but the pillar. But to substantiate Prahlada's statements, the Lord came out of the pillar in his wonderful incarnation as Nṛsiṁha, half man, half lion. Nara means man, Singha means lion. Hiranyakashipu could immediately understand that the extraordinarily wonderful form of the Lord was for his death, and thus he prepared to fight with the form of half lion and half man. The Lord performed his pastimes by fighting with the demon for some time, and in the evening, on the border between day and night, the Lord captured the demon, threw him on his lap, and killed him by piercing his abdomen with his nails. The Lord not only killed Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, but also killed many of his followers. When there was no one else to fight, the Lord, roaring with anger, sat down on Hiranyakashipu's throne. The entire universe was thus relieved of the rule of Hiranyakashipu, and everyone was jubilant in transcendental bliss. Then all the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, approached the Lord. These included the great saintly persons, the Pitas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, the Nagas, the Manus, the Prajapatis, the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Yakshas, the Kimpurushas, the Vaitalikas, the Kinnaras, and so many other varieties of beings in human. All of them stood not far from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and began offering their prayers unto the Lord, whose spiritual effulgence was brilliant as he sat on the throne. Shri Narad Uvacha Ata Daita Sutta Sarve Shutratar Anuvarnitam Jagrihur Niravadhyatvan Naiva Gurvanushikshitam. Narad Muni continued, all the sons of the demons appreciated the transcendental instructions of Prahlāda Maharaj and took them very seriously. They rejected the materialistic instructions given by their teachers, Shanda and Amarka. Purport. This is the effect of the preaching of a pure devotee like Prahlāda Maharaj. He is qualified, sincere and serious about Krishna consciousness, and if he follows the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, as Prahlāda Maharaj did when preaching the instructions he had received from Narad Muni, his preaching is effective. As it is said in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3:25-25, Satang prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata. If one tries to understand the discourses given by the Sat, or pure devotees, those instructions will be very pleasing to the ear and appealing to the heart. Thus, if one is inspired to take to Krishna consciousness, and if one practices the process in his life, he is surely successful in returning home back to Godhead. By the grace of Prahlāda Maharaj, all his class friends, the sons of the demons, became Vaishnavas. They did not like hearing from their so-called teachers, Shanda and Amarka, who were interested only in teaching them about diplomacy, politics, economic development, and topics meant exclusively for sense gratification. Atacharya sutastesham buddhim ekanta sangstitam alakshya bhitastvarito ragya avedayad yata. When Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya, observed that all the students, the sons of the demons, were becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness because of the association of Prahlāda Maharaj, they were afraid. They approached the king of the demons and described the situation as it was. Purport. The words Buddhim ekanta sangstitam indicates that as an effect of Prahlāda Maharaj's preachings, the students who listened to him became fixed in the conclusion that Krishna consciousness is the only object of human life. The fact is that anyone who associates with a pure devotee and follows his instructions becomes fixed in Krishna consciousness and is not disturbed by materialistics. The teachers particularly observed this in their students, and therefore they were afraid because the whole community of students was gradually becoming Krishna conscious. there's a line missing. Kopavisha chalar gatra putram hantum mano dadhe kshiptva parushaya vacha prahlādam atararhanam ahikshamana papena tirashchinena chakshusha. Oops, let me make this big. Prashayavanatam dantam banjalim avastitam sarpa padahata iva shvasvan prakriti daruna. When Hiranyakashipu understood the entire situation, he was extremely angry, so much so that his body trembled. Thus, he finally decided to kill his son, Prahlāda. Hiranyakashipu was by nature very cruel, and feeling insulted, he began hissing like a snake trampled upon by someone's foot. His son Prahlāda was peaceful, mild, and gentle. His senses were under control, and he stood before Hiranyakashipu with folded hands. According to Prahlāda's age and behavior, he was not to be chastised. Yet, with staring, crooked eyes, Hiranyakashipu rebuked him with the following harsh words. Purport. When one is impudent towards a highly devotee, one is punished by the laws of nature. The duration of his life is diminished, and he loses the blessings of superior persons and the results of pious activities. Hiranyakashipu, for example, had achieved such great power in the material world that he could subdue practically all the planetary systems in the universe, including the heavenly planets, Svargaloka. Yet, now because of his mistreatment of such a Vaishnava as Prahlāda Maharaj, all the results of his tapasya diminished, as stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.4.46. Ayushriyam yashodharmam lokam ashisha evacha hanti shreyangsi sarvani pungso mahad atikrama. When one mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. Shri Hiranyakashipur uvacha He Durvanitaman Mandat Kula Bheda Karadhama Stabdhamat Chasanodritvam Chasanod Vrittam Neshetadiya Yamakshayam. Hiranyakashipu said, "O most impudent, most unintelligent disruptor of the family, O lowest of mankind, you have violated my power to rule you, and therefore you are an obstinate fool. Today I shall send you to the place of Yamaraj." Purport. Hiranyakashipu condemned his Vaishnava son Prahlāda for being durvinita, ungentle, uncivilized, or impudent. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, however, has derived a meaning from this word durvinita by the mercy of the goddess of learning Saraswati. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur often does this whenever there's any criticism. He shows how actually, even though they're intending to criticize him, by the mercy of the goddess of learning, Saraswati, actually what they say has another meaning to it, which is, we'll see. He says that Du refers to this material world. This is combined by Lord Krishna in his instruction in Bhagavad Gita that this material world is dukhalayam, full of material conditions. Vi means vishesha, specifically, and nita means brought in. By the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Prahlāda Maharaj was especially brought to this material world to teach people how to get out of the material condition. Lord Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, Bhagavad Gita 4.7. When the entire population, or part of it, becomes forgetful of its own duty, Krishna then comes. He descends. When Krishna is not present, the devotee, when Krishna is not present, the devotee is present. But the mission is the same, to free the poor conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya that chastises them. From the clutches of the Maya that chastises them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further explains that the word mandatman means manda, very bad or very slow in spiritual realization. as stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.1.10, Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya. Prahlāda Maharaj is the guide of all the mandas, or bad living entities who are under the influence of Maya. He is the benefactor even of the slow and the bad living entities in this material world. Kula Bheda Karadhama. By his actions, Prahlāda Maharaj made great personalities who established big families to seem insignificant. Everyone is interested in his own family and in making his dynasty famous. But Prahlāda Maharaj was so liberal that he made no distinction between one living and another. Therefore, he was greater than the great Prajapatis who established their dynasties. The word stabdha means obstinate. Oh, one second. Oh, okay. A devotee does not care for the instructions of the asuras. When they give instructions, he remains silent. A devotee cares about the instructions of Krishna, not those of demons or non-devotees. He does not give any respect to a demon, even though the demon be his father. Matchasano vritam. Prahlāda Maharaj was disobedient to the orders of his demoniac father. Yamakshayam. Every conditioned soul is under the control of Yamaraj. But Hiraṇyakāśipu said that he controlled Prahlāda Maharaj, his deliverer. Why did I say controlled? Sorry, guys. But Hiraṇyakāśipu said that he considered Prahlāda Maharaj his deliverer. For Prahlāda Maharaj would stop Hiraṇyakāśipu's repetition of birth and death. Because Prahlāda Maharaj, being a great devotee, was better than any yogi, Hiraṇyakāśipu was to be brought among the society of bhakti yogis. Thus, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained these words in a very interesting way, as they can be interpreted from the side of Saraswati, the mother of learning. Krudasya yasakampante trayaloka saheshwara tasya me bhitatvam mudha shasanam kim balotyaga. My son Prahlāda, you rascal! You know that when I am angry, all the planets of the 3 worlds tremble, along with their chief rulers. By whose power has a rascal like you become so impudent that you appear fearless and overstep my power to rule? Purport. The relationship between a pure devotee and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is extremely relishable. A devotee never claims to be very powerful himself. Instead, he fully surrenders to the lotus feet of Krishna, being confident that in all dangerous conditions, Krishna will protect his devotee. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita 9:31, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. The Lord requested Arjuna to declare this instead of declaring it himself, because sometimes Krishna changes his view, and therefore people might not believe him. Thus Krishna asked Arjuna to declare that a devotee of the Lord is never vanquished. Hiraṇyakāśipu was perplexed about how his 5-year-old boy could be so fearless that he did not even care for the order of his very great and powerful father. He did not execute the order of anyone except the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the position of a devotee. Hiraṇyakāśipu could understand that this boy must have been very powerful, since the boy did not heed his orders. Hiraṇyakāśipu asked his son, Kim Bala, how have you overcome my order? By whose strength have you done this? Shri Prahlāda uvacha Na kevalam me bhavatascha rajan savai balam balinam cha paresham pare vare mi stira jangamaye brahmadayo yena vasham pranita. Prahlāda Maharaj said, My dear king, the source of my strength, of which you are asking, is also yours. Indeed, the original source of all kinds of strength is one. He is not only your strength or mine, but the only strength for everyone. Without him, no one can get any strength. Whether moving or not moving, superior or inferior. Everyone, including Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Yadyad vibhutimat sattvam Śrīmad urjitam eva va tattad eva vagachatvam mama tejong sambhavan. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. This is confirmed by Prahlāda Maharaj. If one sees extraordinary strength or power anywhere, it is derived from the supremacy of Godhead. To give an example, there are 2 different grades of fire, but all of them derive heat and light from the sun. Similarly, all living entities, big or small, are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One's only duty is to surrender, for one is a servant. One's only duty is to surrender, for one is a servant and cannot independently attain the position of master. One can attain the position of master only by the mercy of the master, not independently. Unless one understands this philosophy, he is still a muda. In other words, he is not very intelligent. The mudas, the asses who do not have this intelligence, cannot surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding the subordinate position of the living entity takes millions of births. But when one is actually wise, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavamam prapadyate vasudeva saram iti sa mahatma sadurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Prahlāda Maharaj was a great soul, a Mahatma, and therefore he completely surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. He was confident that Krishna would give him protection under all circumstances. Sa Ishvara kala urukramo sa ojasaha sattva balendriyatma sa eva vishvam parama sashaktibhi jatyavatya gunatrayesha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme controller and time factor, is the power of the senses, the power of the mind, the power of the body, and the vital force of the senses. His influence is unlimited. He is the best of all living entities, the controller of the 3 modes of material nature. By his own power, he creates this cosmic manifestation, maintains it, and annihilates it also. Purport. Since the material world is being moved by the 3 material modes, and since the Lord is their master, the Lord can create, maintain, and destroy the material world. Jahyasuram bhavam imam tamatmana samam manodhatsva nasandvidvisha rite jitar atmana utpate stitat tadhi hyanantasya mahatsamarhanam. Prahlāda Maharaj continued, My dear father, please give up your demoniac mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised towards everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshipping the Lord perfectly. Purport. Unless one is able to fix the mind at the lotus feet of the Lord, the mind is impossible to control. As Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita 6:34, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayar eva sudushkaram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. It seems to me is more difficult than controlling the wind. The only bona fide process for controlling the mind is to fix the mind by its service to the Lord. We create enemies and friends according to the dictation of the mind. But actually, there are no enemies and friends. Pandita Samadarshina. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu mar bhaktim labate param. To understand this is the primary condition for entering into the kingdom of devotional service. Dasyun pura shana vijitya lampato manyanta eke swajita disho dasha jitatmano gyasya samasya dehinam sadho swamoha prabhava kuta pare. In former times, there were many fools like you who did not conquer the 6 enemies that steal away the wealth of the body. These fools were very proud, thinking, I have conquered all enemies in the 10 directions. But if a person is victorious over the 6 enemies and is equipoised toward all living entities, for him there are no enemies. Enemies are merely imagined by one in ignorance. Enemies are merely imagined by one in ignorance. Purport. In this material world, everyone thinks that he has conquered his enemies, not understanding that his enemies are his uncontrolled mind and 5 senses. Manasangstanindriyani prakriti stani karshati. In this material world, everyone has become a servant of the senses. Originally, everyone is a servant of Krishna, but in ignorance, one forgets this, and thus one is engaged in the service of Maya through lusty desires, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and jealousy. Everyone is actually dependent on the actions of material laws, but still one thinks himself independent and thinks that he has conquered all directions. In conclusion, one who thinks that he has many enemies is an ignorant man, whereas one who is in Krishna consciousness knows that there are no enemies but those within oneself, the uncontrolled mind and senses. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Uvacha Vyaktantam Artukamosi Yotimatram Vikattase Mumurshunam Himandatman Nanusyur Viklavagira. Hiranyakashipu replied, You rascal! You are trying to minimize my value as if you were better than me at controlling the senses. This is overintelligent. I can therefore understand that you desire to die at my hands, for this kind of nonsensical talk is indulged in by those who are about to die. Purport. It is said in Hitopadesh, Upadesho himurkanam prakopaya nashantaye. If good instructions are given to a foolish person, he does not take advantage of them, but becomes more and more angry. Prahlāda Maharaja's authorized instructions to his father were not accepted by Hiranyakashipu as truth. Instead, Hiranyakashipu became increasingly angry at his great son, who is a pure devotee. This kind of difficulty always exists when a devotee preaches Krishna consciousness to persons like Hiranyakashipu, who are interested in money and women. The word Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu refers to cushions, or good bedding. Moreover, a father does not like to be instructed by a son, especially if the father is a demon. Prahlāda Maharaja's Vaishnava preaching to his demoniac father was indirectly effective. For because of Hiranyakashipu's jealousy of Krishna and his devotee, he was inviting Nṛsiṁha-deva to kill him very quickly. Thus he was expediting his being killed by the Lord himself. Although Hiranyakashipu was a demon, he is described here by the added word Shri. Oh yeah, it says Shri Hiranyakashipu Ravacha. That's interesting, huh? Giving Hiranyakashipu respect. Shri. So, why? The answer is that fortunately, he had such a great devotee son as Prahlāda Maharaj. Thus, although he was a demon, he would attain salvation and return home back to Godhead. Yastvaya manda bhagyat yokto madanya jagadishvara kwaso yadi sasarvatra kasmatstam nadrishyate. O most unfortunate Prahlāda, you have always described the Supreme Being other than me, you have described a supreme being other than me, a supreme being who is above everything, who is the controller of everyone, and who is all-pervading. But where is he? If he is everywhere, then why is he not present before me in this pillar? Purport. Demons sometimes declare to a devotee that they cannot accept the existence of God because they cannot see him. But what the demon does not know is stated by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakashya sarvasya yoga maya samavrita. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by yoga maya. The Lord is open to being seen by devotees, but non-devotees cannot see him. The qualification for seeing God is stated in Brahma Samhita 5.38. Premanjanan Shrita Bhakti Vilochanena Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. A devotee who has developed a genuine love for Krishna can always see him everywhere, whereas a demon, not having a clear understanding of the Supreme Lord, cannot see him. When Hiranyakashipu was threatening to kill Prahlāda Maharaj, Prahlāda certainly saw the column standing before him, his father, and he saw that the Lord was present in the pillar to encourage him not to fear his demoniac father's words. The Lord was present to protect him. Hiranyakashipu marked Prahlāda's observation and asked him, "Where is your God?" Prahlāda Maharaj replied, "He is everywhere." Then Hiranyakashipu asked, "Why is he not in this pillar before me?" Thus, in all circumstances, the devotee can always see the Supreme Lord, whereas the non-devotee cannot. Prahlāda Maharaj has here been addressed by his father as the most unfortunate. Hiranyakashipu thought himself extremely fortunate because he possessed the property of the universe. Prahlāda Maharaj, his legitimate son, was to have inherited this vast property. But because of his impudence, he was going to die at his father's hands. Therefore, the demoniac father considered Prahlāda the most unfortunate, because Prahlāda would not be able to inherit his property. Hiranyakashipu did not know that Prahlāda Maharaj was the most fortunate person within the three worlds, because Prahlāda was protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such are the misunderstandings of demons. They do not know that a devotee is protected by the Lord in all circumstances. Konteya pratijanihi nami bhakta pranashati. Soham vikattamanasya shirakaya dharamite gopayeta haristwadya yaste sharanamipsi. Because you are speaking so much nonsense, I shall now sever your head from your body. Now let me see your most worshipful God come to protect you. I want to see it. Purport. Demons always think that the God of the devotees is fictitious. They think that there is no God and that the so-called religious feeling of devotion to God is but an, what's that word? An opiate. Oh, an opiate, of course. An opiate, a kind of illusion, like the illusions derived from LSD or opium. Actually, I read a book, The Happiness Hypothesis, and they're kind of talking about this. Hiranyakashipu did not believe Prahlāda Maharaj when put that his Lord is present everywhere. Because Hiranyakashipu, as a typical demon, was convinced that there is no God and that no one could protect Prahlāda, he felt encouraged to kill his son. He challenged the idea that the devotee is always protected by the Supreme Lord. Okay, now it begins. Evam durukter muhur ardhayan nrusha sutam Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam mahasura khadgam pragriyot patito varasanat stambham tata dati bala samushtina. Being obsessed with anger, Hiranyakashipu, who was very great in bodily strength, thus chastised his exalted devotee son, Prahlāda, with harsh words. Cursing him again and again, Hiranyakashipu took up his sword, got up from his royal throne, and with great struck his fist against the column. Tadaiva tasmin ninnadoti bhishano babhova yenanda kataham asputat. Asputat. I think that's what it means. Yes, it appeared to crack. Yam vai sadishno pagatam ta ajadaya shrutva sadhamatyayam angame nire. Then, from within the pillar came a fearful sound, which appeared to crack the covering of the universe. Oh, my dear Yudhishthir, this sound reached even the abodes of the demigods like Lord Brahma. And when the demigods heard it, they thought, oh, now our planets are being destroyed. Wow, so dramatic. Purport. As we sometimes become very much afraid at the sounds of a thunderbolt, perhaps thinking that our house will be destroyed, the great demigods like Lord Brahma feared the thundering sounds that came from the pillar in front of Hiranyakashipu. Savikraman putra vadepsuro jasa nishamya niradam apuramarbhutam anta sabhayam nadadarsha tatpadam vitatra suryena surari yuttapa. While showing his extraordinary prowess, Hiranyakashipu, who desired to kill his own son, heard that wonderful, tumultuous sound which had never before been heard. Upon hearing the sounds, the other leaders of the demons were afraid. None of them could find the origin of that sound in an assembly. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7:8, Krishna explains himself by saying, Rasoham apsukonteya prabhasmi shashi surayo. Surayo. Yeah. Pranava sarvedeshu shabdake parusham nishu. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sounds in the ether and ability in man. Here the Lord exhibited his presence everywhere by the tumultuous sound in the sky, Shabda-ke. The tumultuous thundering sound was proof of the Lord's presence. The demons, like Hiranyakashipu, could now realize the supreme ruling power of the Lord, and thus Hiranyakashipu became afraid. However powerful a man may be, he always fears the sounds of a thunderbolt. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu and all the demons who were his associates were extremely afraid of the presence of the Supreme Lord in the form of sound, although they could not trace out the source of the sound. One second, just seeing what verse we're reading up to 22, okay. Satam vidhatum nijabhritta bhashitam vyaptim chaputeshvakileshu chatmana adrishyatat yadbhuta rupamudvahan stambhe sabhayam namragam namanusham. Sorry. Here it is. To prove that the statement of his servant Prahlāda Maharaj was substantial, in other words, to prove that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere, even within the pillar of an assembly hall, the Supreme Lord of Godhead, Hari, exhibited a form never before seen. The form was neither that of a man nor that of a lion. Thus, the Lord appeared in his wonderful form in the assembly hall. Shri Nṛsiṁha-Bhagavan ki jai! Purport. When Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlāda Maharaj, where is your Lord? And is he present in this pillar? Prahlāda Maharaj fearlessly replied, yes, my Lord is present everywhere. Therefore, to convince Hiranyakashipu that the statement of Prahlāda Maharaj was unmistakably true, the Lord appeared from the pillar. The Lord appeared as half lion and half man, so that Hiranyakashipu could not understand whether the great giant was a lion or a human being. To substantiate Prahlāda's statement, the Lord proves that his devotee, as declared in Bhagavad Gita, is never vanquished. Konteya pratijanihi nata pranashyati. Prahlāda Maharaj's demoniac father had repeatedly threatened to kill Prahlāda, but Prahlāda was confident that he could not be killed since he was protected by the Supreme Lord. By appearing from the pillar, the Lord encouraged his devotee, saying in effect, "Don't worry, I am present here." By manifesting his form as Nṛsiṁha-deva, the Lord also perceived the truth of Lord Brahma's promise that Hiranyakashipu was not to be killed by any animal or any man. The Lord appeared in a form that could not be said to be fully a man or a lion. Sa sattvam enam parito vipashyan stambhasya madhyad anunirjihanam nayam mrigo napi naro vichitram aho kim etan nri-mrigendra rupam. While Hiranyakashipu looked all around to find the source of the sound, that wonderful form of the Lord, which he ascertains to be either a man or a lion, emerged from the pillar. In amazement, Hiranyakashipu wondered, "What is this creature that is half man and half lion?" Purport: a demon cannot calculate the unlimited potency of the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Vedas, Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate Swabhavaki Jnana Balakriyacha. The different potencies of the Lord are always working in an automatic exhibition of his knowledge. For a demon, it is certainly wonderful that the form of a lion and the form of a man can be united, since a demon has no experience of the inconceivable power for which the Supreme Lord is called all-powerful. Demons cannot understand the omnipotence, the omnipotence of the Lord. They simply compare the Lord to one of them. Avajananti ma muda manusham tanum ashritam. Bhagavad Gita 9:11. Mudas, rascals, think that Krishna is an ordinary human being who appears for the benefit of other human beings. Param bhavam ajananta. Fools, rascals, and demons cannot realize the supreme potency of the Lord, but he can do anything and everything. Indeed, he can do whatever he likes. When Hiranyakashipu received benedictions from Lord Brahma, he thought that he was safe, since he had received the benediction that he could not be killed either by an animal or by a human being. He never thought that an animal and human being would be combined, so that demons like him would be puzzled by such a form. This is the meaning of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's omnipotence. Okay, let me open up here. We're ending with this. Mimangsamanasya samutito grato Nṛsiṁha-ruparalam bhayanakam pratapta chami karachandalochanam spurat shatake sharajrimbitananam Karaladangstrang Karavala chanchala kshuranta jivam bhrukuti mukolpanam stabdordva karnam girikandaradbhuta vyatasya nasam hanubheda bhishanam tisprishat kayam adirgapivara grivoruvaksha stalamalpamadhyamam Chandrangshu Goraishturitam Tanuruhar Vishvagbhujani Kashatam Nakayudam Durasadam Sarvanichetaradhyuda Praveka Vidra Vitadaita Danavam Durasadam Sarvanichetaradhyuda Pravekavitra Danavam. Hiranyakashipu studied the form of the Lord, trying to decide who the form of Nṛsiṁha-deva standing before him was. The Lord's form was extremely fearsome because of his angry eyes, which resembled molten gold. His shining mane, which expanded the dimensions of his fearful, he was, because of his angry eyes, which resembled molten gold, his shining mane which expanded the dimensions of his face, his deadly teeth, and his razor-sharp tongue, which moved about like a dueling sword. His ears were erect and motionless, and his nostrils and gaping mouth appeared like the caves of a mountain. His jaws parted fearfully, and his entire body touched the sky. His neck was very short and thick, his chest broad, his waist thin, and the hairs on his body as white as the rays of the moon. His arms, which resembled flanks of soldiers, spread in all directions as he killed the demons, rogues, and atheists with his conch-shell disc, club, and lotus, and other natural weapons. Shri Nṛsiṁha-Bhāgavatam ki jai! Bhakti Vigna Vinashankari Shri Nṛsiṁha-Bhāgavatam ki jai! Bhakta Pravar Shri Prahlāda Maharaj ki jai! Okay, let's read one more verse. Prayena meyam harino rumayena vadasmrito nena samudyatena kim evam bruvangstva gadayudo nadan Nṛsiṁham pratidaita kunjara. Hiranyakashipu murmured to himself, Lord Vishnu, who possesses great mystic power, has made this plan to kill me. But what is the use of such an attempt? Who can fight with me? Thinking like this, and taking up his club, Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord like an elephant. Purport. In the jungle, there are sometimes fights between lions and elephants. Here, the Lord appeared like a lion, and Hiranyakashipu, unafraid of the Lord, attacked him like an elephant. Generally, the elephant is defeated by the lion. Therefore, the comparison in this verse is appropriate. So, we'll continue this fight of Hiranyakashipu and Nṛsiṁha-deva, and Hiranyakashipu's disappearance day will be tomorrow. All right. Oh man, I want to continue reading on, but it's good to leave on an exciting part like this cliffhanger. Namaste Nṛsiṁhaya. Namaste Nṛsiṁhaya. Prahlāda Dayini. Prahlāda Dayini. Hiraṇyakashipu vakshaha. Hiraṇyakashipu vakshaha. Shilatanka nakalaye. Shilatanka nakalaye. Ito Nṛsiṁha parato Nṛsiṁha. Ito Nṛsiṁha parato Nṛsiṁha. Yato yamitato Nṛsiṁha. Yato yamitato Nṛsiṁha. Pahi Nṛsiṁha hridaye Nṛsiṁha. Pahi Nṛsiṁha hridaye Nṛsiṁha. Nṛsiṁha-madem sharanam prapade. Nṛsiṁha-madem sharanam prapade. Tava kara kamalavare. Nakamarbhuta shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu bringam. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagarisha Hare. Jai Jagarisha Hare. Jai Jagarisha Hare. Tava kara kamalavare. Naka arbhuta shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu bringam. Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Shri Nṛsiṁha Jai Nṛsiṁha Jai Jai Nṛsiṁha Shri Nṛsiṁha Jai Nṛsiṁha Jai Jai Nṛsiṁha Prahlādesha Jaya Parma Mukha Parma Vringa Prahlādesha Jaya Parma Mukha Parma Vringa Bhāgyashāyasya vadane Bhāgyashāyasya vadane Lakshmiryasya cha vakshasi Lakshmiryasya cha vakshasi Yasyaste hridaye samved Yasyaste hridaye samved Otam Nṛsiṁha-maham bhaje Otam Nṛsiṁha-maham bhaje Prahlāda hridaya nada Prahlāda hridaya nada Bhakta vidya vidarana O Bhakta vidya vidarana O Sharadinduruchimbe Sharadinduruchimbande O Parindra-vadanam Harim O Parindra-vadanam Harim Ugropyanugrahevaya Svabhaktanam Nṛkeshari Svabhaktanam Nṛkeshari Keshari Vasapodana Keshari Vasapodana Anishamukha Vikrama Oyanishamukha Vikrama Shri Nṛsiṁha Jai Nṛsiṁha Jai Jai Nṛsiṁha Shri Nṛsiṁha Jai Nṛsiṁha Jai Jai Nṛsiṁha Prahlādesha Jaya Parma Parma Vringa Prahlādesha Jaya Parma Mukha Parma Vringa Ito Nṛsiṁha Parato Nṛsiṁha Ito Nṛsiṁha Parato Nṛsiṁha Ito Nṛsiṁha Parato Nṛsiṁha Ito Nṛsiṁha Parato Nṛsiṁha Yato Yato Yami Tato Nṛsiṁha Yato Yato Yami Tato Nṛsiṁha Bahe Nṛsiṁha Hridaye Nṛsiṁha Bahe Nṛsiṁha Hridaye Nṛsiṁha Nṛsiṁha-madem Sharanam Prapade Nṛsiṁha-madem Sharanam Prapade Nṛsiṁha Jai Jai Prahlāda Jai Jai Nṛsiṁha Jai Jai Prahlāda Jai Nṛsiṁha Jai Jai Prahlāda Jai Nṛsiṁha Jai Jai Prahlāda Jai 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 Jai Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Jaya Nṛsiṁha-deva Jaya Nṛsiṁha-deva Nṛsiṁha-deva Jaya Nṛsiṁha-deva Jaya Nṛsiṁha-deva Jaya Nṛsiṁha-deva Nṛsiṁha-deva Jaya Nṛsiṁha-deva Jaya Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha Jaya Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha Jaya Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha Jaya Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha Jaya Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha Jaya Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha Jaya Bhakta Prahlāda Jaya Bhakta Prahlāda Bhakta Prahlāda Jaya Bhakta Prahlāda Jaya Bhakta Prahlāda Jaya Bhakta Prahlāda Bhakta Prahlāda Jaya Prahlāda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Jaya Gurudeva 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 Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva 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 Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Shishi Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ju Ki Jai Shri Nṛsiṁha-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Nitya-Rupa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashtatara Śrīmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai Nitya-Rupa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashtatara Śrīmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya-Rupa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashtatara Śrīmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya-Rupa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashtatara Śrīmad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya-Rupa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashtatara Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya-Rupa Vishnu-Maha-Bhagavat Śrīla Gokṣaras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya-Rupa Vishnu Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitya-Rupa Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shri Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Namachay Śrīla Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai Shri Amuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Nṛsiṁha-Bhāgavatam Ki Bhakta Bhakti Vigna Vinasankari Shri Nṛsiṁha-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Bhakta Raj Shri Prahlāda Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Shri Kartik Vrat Ki Jai Kartik Vrat Samapta Divas Ki Jai Shri Kartik Vrat Palankari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Hemanti Ki Rasa Yatra Ki Jai Radha Govinda Hemanti Ki Rasa Yatra Ki Jai Shri Urja Vrat Ki Jai Niyam Seva Ki Jai Urjeshwari Raseshwari Shri Vishwabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radha Thakurani Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Vrindai Tulsi Devai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna. Jai, Jai, Jai. Hari Bol. See you all tomorrow for Hiranyakashipu's disappearance pastime. Jai Shri Radhe. Kind of sad Kartik is over now, but anyways. Hari Bol. See you all tomorrow. Dandavat pranams, everybody.